Oh boy, we are getting so close to syrup season around here in Michigan that I can almost taste that sweet, sweet syrup on my pancakes. But we're not there yet. We've still got, a couple weeks probably till we're gonna tap up here in Michigan. But that got me thinking, what all do I need to get done before syrup season hits? And then I'm scrambling trying to get everything accomplished in a couple day time frame before I go out and tap. So today I'm going to tell you guys 5 things that you need to have done and ready to go before you start your syrup season. I can smell it. So I'm on quite a few syrup groups on Facebook and Instagram, and there are a lot of people out there that are just starting making their own maple syrup, and they've got a lot of great questions, and I thought I could answer a lot of those right here. And I wish I had this video when I was first starting out. I had to go searching through a whole bunch of different people and trying to find all this information, and to have it all collectively in one video, I thought was a good idea. I know there's a lot of people further south of us that have already started tapping, and their weather is a little bit warmer than it is up here. Right now I'm sitting at about 20 degrees. That's about the high for the day. We got a little dusting of snow. So we're still about 2 weeks away here from our syrup season, weather depending. First few items you're gonna need are a drill, your hammer, buckets, something to put the sap into, your spiles and hoses, that type of thing. You wanna make sure all the things you need to tap the actual tree you have ready to go, because that's one of the first things that you're going to need when you start your syrup season. A few other things you're going to want to start thinking about is your arch, whether it be a cinder block arch, oil tank arch, fancy dancy, boughten arch you get from retailer, some hydrometers, some thermometers, things like that. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in just a minute. But you want to start thinking about having all that ready to go if you're new to this hobby. So the next thing you're going to want to start looking into getting is your containers, whether it be a bucket, a bag system, something to collect your sap in. And then once you get your sap collected, what are you going to do with it? You got to store it into a bigger container. So we like to use these IBC totes here. These are a food grade IBC tote. And I also have a couple 35-gallon food grade barrels. Now these barrels will help us out with our RO system and getting our permeate and our concentrate separated from our IBC totes. But you're going to want to have something. Another container you're going to want to have is a bottle, something to put your finished syrup into once you're done making it. We use glass bottles here. You can use a plastic bottle. You could use a gallon jug. You could use pretty much anything you want to store your syrup in, but you got to have something ahead of time. So when your syrup is done, you can put it in somewhere to save it for all those Sunday morning pancake breakfasts. I'm going to make sure to link a playlist up above here for you guys to check out all of our maple syrup videos. We've got videos that stretch all the way from a cinder block arch all the way up to an oil tank arch, and kind of the progression that we've done here at Gagne Farms. But it answers a lot of these questions. If you guys go and search through that playlist, I'm sure you'll find something of benefit for you and your system this year. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is wood. I know this is kind of a no-brainer, but some people use propane, some people use wood. We use wood here. Ideally, you want dry seasoned maple wood to be able to make your maple syrup on. This year has been a very cold year. I am running short of wood. Now, for us, we heat the house with wood. It's more important to me to have a warm home than it is to have, 10,000 gallons of maple syrup sitting around. But we do have enough. I've got this seasoned maple sitting right here. I'm trying to hold off this year to use that specifically for maple syrup season. Now, one thing that gets overlooked is some people kind of frown upon going and buying wood because you actually have to spend money to buy that wood. We've got all these woods. Eric, why don't you have enough wood out here? Well, because I obviously didn't cut enough this spring and summer. But just don't frown on people that have to go out and buy wood. It happens. If you have to go buy a cord of wood that's seasoned, on the side of the road, It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, you're going to have a little cost into it, but that's fine. Other people that are using propane have to use a little bit of that extra money to buy the propane, and that's fine too. There's no problem of, you know, using a turkey fryer and a 20-pound tank or a 100-pound propane tank and making your maple syrup on that. The fourth thing I want to talk about is your trails and your sugar bush. A lot of people are out there and they're tapping 6 or 8 maple trees in their front yard, and it's real easy to get to, and that's great. Some of us have a little bit bigger sugar bush. We're out in the woods. It's a little bit deeper out here with our snow coverage, and we want to make sure that our trails are clear with sticks, that we can get down them, that the snow's not too deep, that when it warms up in the spring here a little bit, that it doesn't get too muddy. We've had issues before where we had a really good flow and everything was going really good, and then some of the trails got too muddy that we had to actually go out into the sugar bush and walk these buckets, you know, sometimes 50, 75 yards up onto a main trail to be able to get them into our collection tanks. So you guys want to make sure that everything's ready to go. You don't have any big trees that has fallen down in the winter. I've already checked that in our trail here. A few weeks ago, we had a little bit of a warm spell. I came out here and I checked that everything was good to go, and I could get my truck down it with our collection tanks, and we could get out here, we could start tapping, we could start collecting. But if you can't get to your trees, you're gonna have a real long season. I know I mentioned thermometers and hydrometers earlier in this video, and what you really need is just a good thermometer that's gonna go up past 219 degrees. That's going to get you started at least, okay? You don't need all the fangle-dangle stuff. You don't need a refractometer. You don't need different hydrometers to go out and measure different things. But if you do want them, I suggest getting a finished syrup hydrometer. It's actually marked on the hydrometer when your syrup will be finished. It gives you a real close indication when that's done. Now, there's things like barometric pressure and temperature that's always going to affect all that, but it gets you real close. The other hydrometer is a sugar content hydrometer. When you put that in your clear sap, it'll tell you what your sugar content is of your sap. That's beneficial to me when I'm running an RO system, that I can check my sap coming out of the tree. I know what sugar content is coming out of the tree. I can run it then through my RO system, make sure my RO system's working properly, and then I know what I'm boiling at, what sugar content I'm boiling at then. It's just one of those fangled things that when we first started out, we did not have any of this stuff. But as the years progress, those are things that we tried to upgrade with, and it really seemed to help out our process. Now, last year, I had actually broke one of my hydrometers, so that's one thing that I'm working on today. Get that ordered up and get that coming, so when the time is ready, I have that and we can start syruping and having all of our tools to make that sweet, sweet syrup. You also need to think about what you're going to use to finish your concentrate once it's almost syrup. So you're going to want a pan, whether it be something you're going to run on a turkey fryer or indoors, that's fine. What you're going to use to filter, if it's going to be just an Orlon filter, cheesecloth, a strainer. I've seen people use all sorts of stuff. We have a vacuum filter press ourselves that we use. We enjoy that. But there's all sorts of things you need to have for finishing your syrup before it goes in the bottle. Once you're done, like I said before, you need that bottle. You need some container to put it in. I've seen people put it in kegs. I've seen them put it in small bottles. I've seen people put it in plastic containers. Whatever you choose, you got to have something ready to go, because once it's done, it's done. You're going to want to put it somewhere, right? The fifth thing that I recommend doing before syrup season is a little bit overlooked, I would say, but it is to get some rest. You are going to have some long days and long nights where you've been sitting inside all winter. You finally get to go outside and you're out in the sugar bush and you're moving around, and you're going to have long nights of boiling. You're going to get tired fast. So I recommend getting some extra rest before season starts. Typically around here, our syrup season lasts for about 6 weeks. So you're going to want to get that rest beforehand. and in between runs as well. So you're going to have, a week where it's going to be gangbusters, and you're out there collecting sap, boiling sap after work, up in the morning, early on weekends. And then you're going to have where the weather changes, and you'll have maybe 5 days or a week or so to kind of rest up. Use those times very diligently, because you're going to want to get that rest in between runs and before season. I know it's something that nobody really talks about, but ask any person that makes any amount of syrup, and they're going to tell you they get tired by the end of the season. Some of them quit. They get enough syrup. They're like, hey, I got 2 gallons. We're done. That's all I need. That's fine too. But for the other people that are out there making as many gallons as they can, get that rest now while you still can. I mentioned earlier about some Facebook groups and some Instagram groups that I've been in for maple syrup making, backyard maple syrup making. I will link those in the show notes down below so you guys can go check them out. I encourage you to look at them. There is a treasure trove of information in those groups, and there are so many people that are willing to help out and answer questions pretty quickly. If you have a question that I have not answered on this video, go check those out. I appreciate you guys listening to the 5 things that I think are very important before starting your maple syrup season. And I encourage you guys to check out our maple syrup playlist. All right, guys, it's almost season, remember? We gotta get a rest.